Welcome back, YouTubers, to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new to my channel, I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness, as well as sharing my life stories with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and the like. Also go up along the way also with tips and advice, along with some guidelines or recommendations for you all, so to speak, so that you can follow through of how to manage and cope with your everyday personal struggles, be it, your general health versus your mental health. I also do some beauty from ashes videos in a form of words of encouragement to be your mental advocate, support person, guide, whatever you want to label me as. So as been put to my attention while I've been away, of action of some things, while this is happening, is that I've been doing some more research that's going to be a bit controversial and whatnot, so please bear in mind that what I'm about to share, is based on my life experiences and opinions in general. Give and take. I'll do the same for you if you had your differences of opinions on any matter that I bring up on my channel. So this one's all about basically the DSM-5 as promised, and even though this is going to be a real quick short excerpt about the DSM-5, how it works for diagnosing someone with autism, it's going to be hopefully broken down into some other parts further along the way, but feel free to follow it through when you do see this, if this is of interest to you to know about what I'm sharing. So this, as I said, is just going to be the basis of it. As you know, basically, with this criteria diagnosis, however, the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic Statistical Manual of the DSM-5 provides standardized criteria to help diagnose autism spectrum disorders. So what it consists of, obviously, and this is A, persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction across multiple contexts, as manifested by the following currently or by history. Examples that are illustrated but not exhaustive in the following of what I'm about to share. Number 1 is deficits in social emotional reciprocity, ranging, for example, from abnormal social approach and failure of normal back and forth conversation to reduce sharing of interest, emotions, or affect, to failure to initiate or respond to social interactions. 2. Deficits in nonverbal communicative behaviors used for social interaction, ranging, for example, from poorly integrated verbal and nonverbal communication to abnormalities in eye contact and body language, or deficits in understanding and use of gestures to a total lack of facial expressions and nonverbal communication. 3. Deficits in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships, ranging, for example, from difficulties adjusting behaviors to suit various social contexts, to difficulties in sharing imaginative play or making friends in general, to absence of interest in peers at all. Sometimes there comes to a point when it comes down to diagnosing autism spectrum disorder, especially in this DSM-5, basically they do it through the severity versus not severe cases, but severity in this case is defined as, or is based on social communication impairments and restrictive repetitive patterns or behaviors that people with autism spectrum disorders will show. So B, restricted repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities manifested by at least 2 or the following currently or by history. Examples illustrative, not exhaustive, which are the following. 1. Stereotyped or repetitive motor movements, use of objects or speech. For example, simple motor stereotypes, lining up their toys, flipping objects. Echolalia, idiosyncratic phrases. 2. Insistence on sameness and flexible adherence to routines, or ritualized patterns of verbal or non-verbal behaviors. For example, extreme distress at small changes, difficulties with transitions, rigid thinking patterns, greeting rituals, need to take same route or eat same food every day. 3. Highly restricted fixated interests that are abnormal to some people and intensity of focus. For example, here what I'm illustrating, strong attachment to or preoccupation with unusual objects, excessively circumscribed or persevered interest. 4. Hyper or hyperactive activity to sensory input or unusual interest in sensory aspects of the environment. For example, apparent indifference to pain, temperature, adverse response to specific sounds or textures, excessive smelling or touching of objects, visual fascination with lights or movement, Specify current severity. Severity is based on social communication impairments as mentioned and restricted repeated behavior or patterns of this behavior. C. Symptoms must be present in the early developmental stages or period but may not become fully understandable or manifested until social demands exceeds the limited capacities for the child, or may be masked by learned strategies that is later used in later life. D. Symptoms may cause clinically significant impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of current functioning. E. These disturbances aren't better explained by intellectual disability, however, intellectual development disorder, or global developmental delay. Intellectual disability and autism spectrum disorders, however, frequently co-occur to make comorbid diagnosis of autism spectrum disorders and intellectual disability. Social communication should be below that expected for general developmental level. Just a quick note though, however, individuals with a well-established DSM diagnosis of this autistic disorder, species disorder, or pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified, should be given the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder regardless. Individuals who have marked deficits in social communication but whose symptoms don't otherwise meet criteria for autism spectrum disorders should be evaluated for social pragmatic communication disorder. Specify if, with or without accompanying intellectual impairment. 2. With or without accompanying language impairment. 3. Associated with a non-medical or genetic condition or environmental factor. Sometimes with some people that clinically diagnosed with people on the spectrum, they will use an additional code to identify these associated medical or genetic conditions. Associated with another neurodevelopmental, mental or behavioral disorders. With catatonia, refer to the criteria for catatonia with another mental disorder, so therefore sometimes there will be some disorders will be mental health. So this quickly ends a short brief overview of the DSM-5 diagnosis. Give me the like for thumbs up for support, comment below, feel free to share these videos around to family and friends, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, feel free to also turn on the notification bell so that you can keep up to date with new information of anything that is autism related or otherwise of whatever you choose to follow me through. Follow me through my social media links that are listed just below on my description. So in all further ado guys, thanks for your support, do what you love what you do, and I'll see you all again soon.